Now, the second question that visitors typically ask me is what type of jobs and career opportunities are available here in the islands. Now, many residents tend to work in the hospitality industry, such as restaurants or hotels. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, tourism is the primary source of revenue with around 2 million visitors each year down here in the Virgin Islands. For those of you who enjoy dealing with people, there are plenty of fun restaurants to work at. One would be the world-famous Señor Frogs that many of you have probably heard of. Not only can you meet a lot of people, have a lot of fun, and make a lot of money, you also have the peace of mind of knowing that the industry that you work in is one of the best to be in throughout the Caribbean. There are also your everyday jobs, such as working in a hospital or construction. An example would be a friend of mine who sold medical supplies in New York. Now, if you have a strong background in a specific field, a lot of the times you can actually find a job prior to moving down, and my friend is an example. He sold medical supplies, and he decided he wanted to move off the mainland and come down here. He ended up working out a deal with the company that he was working for, so that he came down here and became the regional manager for the U.S. islands and Puerto Rico. Now, not only is he still working in a job that he's familiar with and good at, he actually has the advantage of being able to travel island to island practically expense-free, which is something I get jealous at and joke around from time to time with him. Another huge perk of living down here is that you get to meet lots of influential people from all over that do many different types of things around the world. Now, of course, you can meet anyone anywhere, but living in a smaller island where people vacate to makes it almost seem like a high school at times. And I mean that in a good way. I mean that because you can meet practically everyone that moves down here, and a lot of opportunities arise from that. When I first moved down to the islands, I was working in a fine dining restaurant, and I was waiting on a table of wealthy gentlemen one evening. They sat me down and complimented me on a job well done. I thanked them, and they offered me a job. They said they were down here scoping out the islands to decide if they wanted to move their headquarters, and they said that the job came with excellent benefits and 401k, everything that you want to look for in a good job. So I took them up on it. It's actually the current job that I'm working for now, and it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. And this is just one example of something that's happened to countless people that I've met down here in the islands. Now that you understand what people do for a living and what people do for fun down here, it's important to understand the average cost of living in the islands. Now, compared to a major U.S. city such as New York, where I'm from, figures that I found on Numio.com, an internet database that provides up-to-date information on living conditions around the world, an inexpensive meal in New York costs an average of $15. Now that's $10 more than the $25 average we pay down here. I also work in the utility industry, so I can tell you that typically residents in New York pay approximately 12 cents a kilowatt hour. Now that's compared to the 53 cents that we pay down here, which is 5 times that amount and 3 times the national average, which both of those things are on the downside, of course. On the upside, as far as rent goes, it's reasonably cheap compared to a city like New York. More figures that I found on Numio.com, which is a phenomenal site. The average cost of a 1-bedroom apartment in New York costs $2,900. Astronomical. Now, a 1-bedroom apartment down here in the islands, in St. Thomas, that's considered the New York of the Virgin Islands, a 1-bedroom apartment typically costs $560, so much cheaper. I personally feel that no matter where you are in the world, everywhere has its ups and its downs, and U.S. Virgin Islands are no exception. But although it's more expensive when it comes to electricity and food, the cheaper rent does help balance things out, so it is very similar. Now, there are plenty of extracurricular and leisurely activities that you can be a part of, such as barbecuing on the beach with friends, scuba diving, or island hopping on boats, which makes the islands very enjoyable for everyone. There are also plenty of money to be made and career opportunities to take advantage of. If you prefer to work in a restaurant or sell medical supplies, it doesn't matter. All of them are available, and they make the U.S. Virgin Islands a phenomenal place to live. This is why I would personally recommend anyone living in the U.S. Virgin Islands if they want to move away from the mainland and try their luck down in the Caribbean.